Hi everybody, welcome to the latest video. This one doesn't really fall into my normal pattern of developing and getting an aircraft programmed up. It's really backtracking of things that we need to fix or change. It sounds so negative, fix. It's more change after the Sim Update 10, which happened in September. A few days ago. I haven't looked at every single thing, every aspect of it, but one or two things are significant for us. One or two things are little wrinkles with AAO, X's and O's, and how that's working. Some are just things in the simulator itself and how that's changed. But the biggest change for us is, well, for me, is that they've discontinued the old G1000 navigation unit and brought in the G1000 NXi, which I can see what they've done. It's certainly a step forward. It's a much better unit. But we are going to have to reprogram a few of our profiles to make it work, and it's significant because it's the GPS unit in quite a few of the aircraft that I fly and already programmed up. So that's some of the stuff we need to work on. It's a bit of an unplanned video. Sorry, it's going to be a bit of a ramble. But I'll kind of do the work on the fly and show you what I think we need to do. So it won't be an in-depth look at the NXi unit itself. What I'm worried about is how we program the buttons up so it connects to the sim. That's my function. There's so much in the NXi unit, and there's quite a bit of the navigation stuff and modes that I'm really not an expert on. I'm learning my way around that as well because it's quite a change. And I'm going to link to two videos that I found that are really good tutorials. They're a bit long, they're about over an hour long each one, but they really do go in depth into the different modes. Firstly, what's available on the NXi unit, and secondly, it explains quite a bit of the navigation modes. So if you really want to hear it from someone who's a bit more expert than I am, I suggest go through those videos. They're quite well indexed as well, so you can jump to the bits that you think are relevant to you. So let's have a quick look at some of the things I've discovered that have changed about Flight Simulator itself and its link to X's and O's as a result of the update. The first one I've just discovered as I started recording this video, so I had to stop and start again. The first thing I discovered was that it doesn't go into window mode anymore. It used to be if I pressed Alt and Enter, it would bring up here the fact that I could move and change the window and shrink the window and even close the window. It's clearly brought it to the back, and it's brought the taskbar to the front, but it's not really going into full window mode. So I've only just discovered that, so I need to have a look at that and see if that's a function, an issue, a bug. So if I do Alt and Enter again, we're back into full screen mode. So that's number one. Number two thing I discovered was when you do the update, most people empty their community folder, or if they're like me, they have got already an empty one, and we just rename this as community holding, or community old or something, and rename this to community. So we've got an empty folder sitting there. And I had forgotten to change it back, and I assumed that X's and O's would actually build the element that it needs in there in the community folder on the fly automatically, and I discovered that it doesn't. X's and O's will actually run, but it has reduced functionality. There's some things don't work without the add-in that needs to be there, so that's only created at install. So either reinstall X's and O's or copy that back into your community folder, or however you move your community folder stuff around to get the full functionality of X's and O's. Second thing that I've noticed with X's and O's was when you do any major updates, you are expected to go in and read the HVARs, BVARs before you run Flight Simulator, which I've done. And then when you start Flight Simulator, read the LVARs, and Flight Simulator started, we're connected, it knows it's connected and it's waiting for the aircraft data, and I can't read the LVARs from there. But I can once I've loaded the aircraft. So what I'm going to do is pause the video now, load an aircraft, and bring you back to show you that that's working fine. Okay, so we're parked up at Shoreham Airfield, which is where I do most of my development work. And if we look at axis and O's, it's brought up the profile correctly. And if I go into scripting now, I can read the LVARs. I've already done that, but I'll do it again. It doesn't do any harm to click them. I've no idea if that's significant, the fact it's only reading the LVARs when I'm in that aircraft. Is it something specific to the aircraft, or is it global? Really not quite sure what's going on there with that. So that's a bit of an oddity. I have pulled up on the screen a software view of my Stream Deck, which is over here, and an actual webcam of my X-Touch Mini, so you can see what's going on here. And what I'm going to do just quickly is just show you that, reassure you that just about everything we programmed in works absolutely fine. So let's go and use my Stream Deck to return the battery on, and backup battery can go on as well at the same time. And let's just check down here. I've got mixture control, I've got throttle control, so let's get that set. And let's start using the key. So again, I'm pressing it from my Stream Deck, and we'll get the engine started. And let's turn the alternator on. Avionics. It takes a little while to align. It simulates what happens on the actual unit, that it takes some time to get the inertial system or something sorted, to make sure the satellites are working, and we're up and alive. And if we go into the MFD and press button 12, the map's alive, so that's all working. Let's go along the light switches. Let's just check that they're all working. So everything's working there. We've got them all switched on. We only need the beacon light on at the moment. Fuel pump working, and the pitot heater working. So everything we programmed there is absolutely working fine. And you can see that over here they're all switched on. So everything there's working. And in fact, I tested the cabin lights as well, and if you'd programmed that up, if you follow that in the one of my previous videos, I can turn all the glare shields on, and all the dims and everything work there. So that we haven't lost anything there. Let's have a quick look at what's going on here with the PFD and the MFD. So let's put that onto layer A, and first thing to look at will be, let's just change the view slightly here. I'm going to control the frequencies here, so the nav megahertz working, kilohertz working, standby to active is working, and 1 to 2 is working. So all that button's working. Same on the comm side over here, we just check those, that we've got megahertz, kilohertz, active to standby. That's working absolutely fine, and we can swap between 1 and 2 with this button here. So everything we programmed before on the comm side is absolutely working. Let's work our way along the top here. So my heading bug, you should see that blue heading bug there move. So that's working, and if I press it, it will synchronize to my current heading. So that's working absolutely fine. Altitude select, that will come up here. So let's go to the thousands and the hundreds, so that's all working beautifully. Course 1, it starts off on GPS by default. So if I change on the CDI to VOR1, I can change the course for that, so that's working fine. And we check those two, so we've done all the way along the top. If we go to layer B, and let's have a look what's going on here. So this is the FMS outer and inner buttons here that we need to look at. And if I bring up a window, you'll see that the cursor is already working. So let's use the outer button, that moves through quite happily. The inner button does that, and we can turn the cursor on and off and all those sorts of things. So that section there is working. So let's close that flight plan there. so that's working. I don't program these buttons here onto my Stream Deck, onto my X Mini. They're programmed into the Stream Deck, so we'll have a look at those later. Let's go along here. So we know the inner and outer is working. Let's just check the barometer. Let's change the barometer setting. And that's working both directions, so that's okay. That's just to do with the OBS. We can only work that when we're in OBS mode, so that's something we need to check later on with that. And the range button works on the map, so let's just check the map. Sorry, checking the map, the range works, that's fine. Course 2, we need to change the CDI again so that we're looking at localizer 2, and that's working, so we can change that. And the MFD outer and inner, so let's change the outer one. That will walk us through the various screens that are available, so that's working. And the inner one takes us through the sub pages, so that's working exactly as before. And I tested the cursor working, and that works fine. So again, let's go along back onto layer A and let's have a look at the actual buttons we've got programmed in. So we should have autopilot on and off, and that's working. In fact, it's working better than it did before, because it actually takes the autopilot away, so that's nice. That's cleared a bug that we had before. We've got entering the heading mode, entering nav mode. Approach mode won't work because we're not actually into an approach at the moment, but it would work, I'm fairly sure. Flight level change, that's working, and I should be able to change the speed. Yes, I can. So that's all working absolutely fine. Let's take FLC off. On this side here, I can turn on and off the flight directors. I can put it into altitude hold mode. VNav is something that never was programmed up, and that's something we need to do a little bit of work on because that's one of the major changes we've got to vertical navigation. Back course won't work until we're in approach mode. There's nothing allocated here. This is vertical speed, and again that I can guarantee is working. There's our vertical speed mode. Turn that on and off. And then if we change into layer B, what's really concerning me on this side here, the bits I've got programming mostly is the direct to button over here. So if I go direct to, that's working. Let's turn that off. And I want to get out of this bit here, so let's see, can I do it by clearing? No, I'm going to have to get out by taking that to the map mode. There we go. So direct to works, the flight plan button works, clear button I've tried, that works, menu, that brings up there, and procedures. So, and yeah, I've tested the enter button and that does work. So all of the buttons I've got there work correctly, everything here functions correctly, so we haven't lost much with the update there. We haven't got too much to worry about. I tested the lights, the cabin lights, they all work. I tested the radio, that all seems to work absolutely fine. So what has changed? Well, it's the soft buttons here that have changed. The menu system here has changed quite considerably. Labeling's worked, has changed, and how they actually function has changed as well, what connects to what. And the various things that we've got available to us. This is, it pretty much does the same functions, but it's how they've laid it out. And there are a couple of kind of gotchas that we've got to watch out for. One of them is here on the PDF options, PFD options. Again, we can bring up the bearing and things that like we used to do before. That's pretty much the same. One of them here, we've got this one here where we can change to the standard barometer, which you would do if you were flying above the whatever the transition height is for wherever you fly, that you would normally change that to a standard barometer setting. And if I press on standard barometer, it will change that to standard barometer, but it also takes us back here to the main main menu. So we need to watch out for that button there has to be programmed to do two things. So there's some work there. To get out of this, we need to go back into PDF, turn off the standard, and it remembers the setting that you had. But again, pressing that button takes us back here, so we don't need to press the back button, although there is a back button to go back to the main menu, but that also has to have the back function programmed into it as well. So there's a couple of things that we need to be aware of there. And we've got the same thing with the transponder. If we go into code mode, if I put in my 4-digit code, 3, as soon as I press the 4th digit, that is going to take us back one layer to in the transponder. We're still in the transponder, but it's taken us straight back there automatically, so that we can go to either turn it on or into altitude mode. So that we're going to do a bit of thinking about how we're going to get that to happen. And the last one we got here is if you're in here and press the ident button, the ident button will take us back to the main menu. Interestingly, the ident button is always available to us, even on the main menu here. So if you're flying on VATSIM or somewhere like that, I don't think Microsoft ACT ever asks you to ident, but VATSIM may well do, so that they can find you on their radar screen. The ident's available to us, so that's quite nice. That's useful. That's there all the time. So the menu system has changed, and what connects to what, and that has changed. And I'll talk about that in a minute. One of the bigger changes is actually on the MFD, the main flight display, that they make much greater use of the buttons. There was so little use of the buttons before that when I programmed it up, I didn't bother going to the details of creating lots of different profiles for the MFD. But now I think I probably am going to have to do some more work on this. For instance, if I press the engine button, that takes me into into a menu, and this takes me into another menu, and this takes me to another menu. So it does change and has quite a depth to the menu system here. It's not a lot of functions in here still. There's still more that they can add, and I'm not going to talk through all of them again. As I said, there are videos that I think you should connect to and look at. There's no point in me duplicating work that someone else has already done, and probably done better than I will. But just to show you that this does change as we press through there. So I think we need to do some work to create a profile system for this. But the other interesting thing that happens is that we use these soft buttons here when we're into, say, the flight plan, because we need to be able to jump between this section here, that section there. So this allows us to jump between the various sections as we're putting our flight plan in. Or it happens, let's check that out, if we go into the waypoint information here, the nearest, it allows us to jump between airport, the runway section, the frequency, and the approaches. Particularly here, if we want to pick up one of those frequencies and automatically have it transferred into here or into here, that using this knob here, if I get this active, that scrolling up and down here does us no good. We can't get out of that top window. We're still stuck in the nearest airports. So if I want to go and look at the runways available at that airport, I would need to press the runway button here, and it changes to this section here, or the frequencies. So that these buttons are important, so we need to make sure that we can change to that when we are in the appropriate mode, so we can call up the correct buttons for us. So that's something we need to check out and make sure we know how that's working. Okay, because I don't want to have to reach for the screen here. I like to have them on my Stream Deck with the correct titling. So if I look at what I used to have before on my flight deck, the software, that you can see here that I've actually got the labels, and they change as I move through the various sections, so I can see what the actual buttons do, not have to look up at the screen but actually look at my Stream Deck. So that's what we're going to do. We will need to rebuild the profiles for that. Okay, so that's as far as I've got at the moment. No great disasters, nothing missing particularly. All the buttons are working, except we need to do some work on this. So I'm going to probably build a second video. That's been long enough for chundering on this one, and we'll go and have bring you in on another video and talk about how we're going to get these programmed up. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.